Hey, it's Ryan from Upfit Supply, and in this video we're going to be installing some slick locks on our RAM ProMaster City. Let's get into it. Okay, so we have our slick locks door lock kit here. This is a kit of puck locks and brackets that are used to secure the cargo area doors on your vehicle. So the RAM ProMaster City actually includes 3 puck locks. There's one for this sliding door, one for the other sliding door, and then one that covers both rear barn doors. So we're going to start off here with the side sliding doors. I'm only going to show you the passenger side because the installation is exactly the same on the driver's side. It's just mirrored. And so to start on this side, you're going to want to grab your bracket that looks like this. On the passenger side, you want to look, it's labeled on the back. It says PM-CITY-FVK-SLIDE-TK. So you want to look for that pass slide bracket to make sure, because these are side specific. And what these do is these mount to an existing threaded location that's unused in a cargo van. In a passenger van, I believe this is where a seat belt attaches to. It's a little threaded location up here on the door frame. Right here, about halfway up the top of the door, we have this little threaded location right here, and I've got a liner here kind of in the way, so it's hard to see. But that's what we're going to be going into with this bracket. So the first thing that we need to do is actually pull this little gasket away from the door, because the bracket's going to slide underneath this gasket to the outside. So let's go ahead and get this started. So just one little note, this is kind of like a clamping bracket. It is kind of a tight fit in this area. So as I slide this under here, you know, it's going to be a tight fit. So what you can do to just kind of prevent it from scratching on the outside of the door is pull it back a little bit. And we're just going to get this lined up first so that we can shut the door and mark it. Got this in place right here. You can see the threading right here. I do have my bolts right here. I'm just going to slide one in to place. The only 2 bolts that you need are for the 2 sliding doors. Just want to get this loosely threaded in here. Okay, with that bolt in place, I'm just going to put this weather stripping back in place. I'm going to shut this door and see where this alignment happens. And I'm going to mark on the door here because we want to put some paint protector behind this as well as on the door. So I'm just going to mark that with masking tape. Now, if you had a grease pen or some other type of safe pen or something like that, you could use that to mark. I'm just going to use masking tape because it seems easy enough. And I'm going to just take my lock and see where this is going to sit. Make sure that we put some paint protector behind that as well. So with that marked, now I can take this bracket off. Again, shut the door. Now you can see my masking tape right here. I'm going to use these included little adhesive strips here to apply behind there so that we don't scratch our paint from the bracket or from the lock. All right, with those in place, I can get the bracket installed. Slide the bracket into place. Just for reference, this is a 5/8 inch wrench. So you can fit this weather stripping over top of this bracket. You just have to shove it a little bit. All right, there we go. Now again, the way that this bracket prevents the door from being opened is if you have the puck lock in place here, this can't slide back or open. So a lot of people think it should go right here, but you know, if you have a lock right here, you know, it can slide out from underneath it. So this really prevents the door from being opened at all. It's really the most secure location. So now I'm just going to unlock this. You may have to spin it to get the keyhole aligned, pull it out. All right, now typically what you want to do is it's kind of, you know, the hasp isn't centered on the lock. It's off to the side a little bit. And you want as much of the lock over this bracket as possible, just so it's not scuffing up against your vehicle. You want to make sure that this key goes all the way in. Make sure that the pin is in there. And usually you're going to want to spin it. And this is super tight to the vehicle, so it's not going to rattle around because we have our weather cover here. And we're good to go on this side door. Again, it works because you know, as I try to open this, I'm not going to do it too much so I don't damage my door, but you can't get this door open with that lock in the way. Now moving on to the back here, obviously there's the two barn doors that open up. And there's two brackets, one that attaches to each door. And basically when you shut the doors, these brackets come together. You have a single lock over top of these hasps, and it keeps both doors from being opened. And so just a quick overview of how this works is we're actually going to integrate with these, I don't know if it's called a strike plate or whatever here on the door. And then over here where it attaches into, we're just going to reuse these bolts and actually slide a bracket underneath there and slide a bracket underneath those bolts over there as well. So we're going to start here on the driver's side door, and we're going to remove this bracket here. And what you need is a T40 Torx bit. I just have a socket wrench here to remove it. Now on the back here, I'm only going to remove one hole first because you know, it looks like there's a little bracket on the inside here. If I take both of them out, it might fall into the door. So I'm actually going to leave one in place and kind of attach one at a time so I don't lose track of that little bracket that's in there. Then I want to take my bracket that looks like this. It says rear right on it. You know, it looks a lot different than this one. And what we're going to do is kind of hold this over the bracket to see where this is going to go through this gasket here, because we have to do some minor trimming on the gasket. I'm going to just pull this gasket away from the van a little bit, and so it exposes the metal there. And I'm going to slide this bracket underneath it over top of where this bracket is going to go to kind of get alignment and figure out where I'm going to have to do some trimming on here. And to mark it, I'm again going to use some masking tape. I'm just going to get a couple pieces ready here. Again, you could use a grease pen or something else to mark this. I'm going to put it through here, over top of those holes. Just want to see where I'm going to do that trimming. I actually want to mark on the inside because that's the side you want to trim. All right, now I can take this out. So I have this marked. All you're going to need is a razor blade. So my first cut is kind of going to be in this little line here between these two markings I have. Just cut this away, and then I'm going to have to use another tool to get through this actual stripping here because there's wires and stuff in it. All right, so as you can see here, I've just kind of separated this flexible part from the sturdy part. I've got to cut this away with another tool, so I'm just going to get some tin snips and snip that out. Again, if you have some other tool that can cut through metallic material, that'll work. I don't know if you can see that on the camera or not, but this has some metallic material inside of it. This is what we cut away. You can see we still have some of this gasket here, so it's going to give us still a nice weather tight seal there, but we need to be able to get the bracket in between there. So again, just going to slide this through here, make sure my cut is good. All right, we look pretty good here. Okay, so like I said, I kept one bolt in here. I could slide this bracket over top of the bolt. Again, I just feel like there's a bracket in there that could slide back, so I'm keeping a single bolt in there. And then I'm going to put one in here. Okay, and I can take this one out. And I don't know if you actually have to do this, but I don't want to be fishing for a bracket inside of a door. All right, I'm gonna leave this somewhat loose right now because I want to make sure that I have alignment over here with this. And before we do that, I want to get this bracket lined up. And you know, this is a pretty similar situation where we're going to remove some bolts. I'm just going to hold this bracket over top of this. And you can see we need to remove this bottom bolt and this outside bolt here. Leave this one in place because we don't want this to come out. Okay, set my bracket over top. So as you can see, there is quite a bit of play in here, and that's really to allow for alignment, because we need to make sure that the striker lines up here, and then we also want to make sure that our holes on these hasps line up with our slick locks so that we can actually get a lock through there. So I'm going to get these snug tight. You can always make adjustments later. You probably will have to. The first thing I want to make sure is lined up is our actual door mechanism back in place. So what I was finding when I shut this door, it's not latching all the way because this bracket's in the way, so I need to adjust that backwards slightly. Try that again. All right, door latches nice and securely. I'm going to line up these hasps a little bit. So before we tighten everything up, I want to make sure that these hasps, there's 2 holes on these hasps, line up so that I can actually get a lock through here. And I just have a punch. You could also use a drill bit or something else like that. And I'm just going to make sure that these line up good. So I don't have any issues installing my locks. All right. With that in place, I'm gonna fully tighten this driver's side door. All right, let's test fit our lock. All right, there we go. That does fit nice. Yeah, and you cannot open this door at all with this lock in place, and we're good to go. Good with the rear barn doors. All right, so you can see the final install right here on this bracket. We have the bracket underneath this little ring. With our bolts tightened, you can see I cut away part of this seal right here, but we still have majority of it on the outside, so it's still gonna give us a nice weather tight seal right there. And then on this side, we just tied into 2 of these bolts, part of the locking mechanism. And that's about it. I showed you how to do the passenger side sliding door. Exact same process for the driver's side. Rear doors, you're all set, ready to go. You've got your 3 locks. They're all key to light, use the same key. Now, if you're looking for slick locks or any other equipment to upfit your van so that it's work ready, be sure to check us out at upfitsupply.com. Again, my name is Ryan, and have a good one.